Unauthorized opinions expressed on the internet would be censored.
We are live. We are live. This is real. Welcome back to Unauthorized Opinions, UOPod.com. Like, share, subscribe.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way.
I literally went to the polls with nothing in mind. I saw a can of orange soda in the parking lot. And I was like, yeah, there we go. An unopened can of orange soda just chilling in the parking lot. I was like, yeah, I got to vote for Trump, dude.
Your podcast sucks. It's mental, mate. It's absolutely mental.
I'll be honest, I thought it was kind of offensive when you talk so much about the Loch Ness Monster.
Political climate.
And Andrew, treat yourself, okay? Especially if you start, I don't know, getting in good with homeless people.
Unauthorized Opinions, streaming everywhere at uopod.com. Cock-a-doodly-doodly-doo, man. All right, Sam Tripoli, the first question I had.
We're in it.
We're
in it. Dude, that's why, studies of statistics show they like it when we get right in it. We're in it.
We got to get in it. I could go to the usual. Welcome back to another episode. My name is Andrew Chaptos. This is Sam Tripoli from the Tinfoil Hat Podcast. My first question that I've a few written down, believe it or not.
I like this.
What topics today do you think the government doesn't want people talking about? I feel like we've had so many leaps and bounds, even in the last year, about what people can talk about, and I think a lot of that's due to comedians and stand-up comedy. What do you still think hasn't passed the Rubicon, if you will, in terms of what we're allowed to talk about online?
Well, it's like this is a great question because, like, we discuss this a lot. I have a bunch of podcasts, Tinfoil Hat. And there's one I have called Union of the Unwanted, where we get all these great content creators together on different topics. And there's something that I call there's safe, dangerous, and then there's dangerous, right? And dangerous is the things that, you get censored on YouTube for, and you get censored on even on Twitter for as great as Twitter is, and we can get into what Twitter represents, which is fine. But, for me, man, there's a lot, like the true history of America, the true history of our timeline, the true history of, let's say, like right now I'm reading a really great book on World War II. My poor girlfriend has to see all these books I get. She's like, why are you reading this? Because I like to know what real history is, and the true history of man is something that's very censored because it leads into what is going on right here, right now. Okay, and I think that's foreign influences on our politicians, blackmail. This is all starting to come to the head, and so I just tweeted this right now that things aren't getting worse, they're just getting more obvious. And these are the dangerous conversations that people are afraid to have and that most people don't want to hear. So that would be my answer. The true history of what is going on right now and how we've gotten to where we are is probably the most dangerous story you could have.
In that vein, there's a lot of talking right now about the banning of TikTok. Now we can get into, how the Chinese government might be getting the information from it. other side of the argument is that, U.S. companies are doing that as well. So you have to kind of pick your poison there. Do you think it's better from the government's point of view to restrict access to something like TikTok because so many kids use it, so many youths use it? Now, forget about the whole, it's probably inflated the numbers and stuff is pushed in different algorithms.
By the way, all social medias are inflated, just so you know. There's no social media that is not, they don't inflate their numbers.
Because I know that to be true about two. TikTok one, another one I won't name, but
they all, I'd have to explain how. I'm being honest with you when I tell you.
I believe you.
All of them do it. Instagram, as we know, Instagram has been dying to compete with TikTok, so they started inflating comedians' numbers on their reels. It's because that in this day and age, going viral is like the mother lode, so everybody is chasing it. So I would say they all do it. Some more obviously than others, but they all do it.
So do you think that it helps the government, or from the government's point of view, that it's beneficial to stop something like TikTok, where a lot of young people are getting their information from, whether it's on the left or right? People are going to be posting a lot of Palestine stuff on there, and they're going to be posting a lot of Israel stuff on there. No matter the topic or the side, do you think it's beneficial for the government to just be like, how about no access for younger people on this platform to get information that we can't control?
Well, what I will tell you is that in 2024, we should honestly not give a shit about what's best for the government or what the government thinks is best. That's my opinion. After this 20 years or 24 years that we've been through, I would say that doing what's best for the government, or believing that the government is doing what's best for us, is beyond naive, and I don't think it's good. So here's my big thing, and this kind of can apply to what we're seeing on these campuses right now. It is of my belief that if you start to be okay for the government to do things against people you don't like, okay, violating laws and amendments and social contracts for people you don't like, just know that will be used against you. So as we see everyone starting to lose their minds about these Palestinian protests and people on the right who are so okay, who are like constitutionalists, defenders of all the amendments, okay with these kids' amendments being violated, just know that will come back to you. And eventually there will be a time where people might want to take to the streets because they don't like something the government's doing. And because you've created a precedence in which you're okay with the government doing against people you don't like, then that will be used against you. So how does that apply to what you're just saying? If you're okay with the U.S. government taking out TikTok, then they'll eventually come for people, let's say Rumble or Twitter, okay? If you're okay with Twitter violating Brazil's Supreme Court and their ruling, just know that could be used against your own government or your own constitution and your own rule of law. So I'm very conscious, how can this be turned on me? So that, the whole thing is if you study the right to choose people, how they believe in body autonomy, except for when it comes to vaccinations. Well, now they have no ground to stand on, and nobody takes anything they say serious because they completely threw everyone who didn't want to get the vaccinations under the bus. So you have to really watch when you start to compromise your morals and your constitution for other people. And that's my opinion.
What I was sort of getting at with the social media government control thing is when I think about what I think is good for children, because I don't think the typical thing that applies to anybody should be able to use something applies to children.
No, I agree. Okay, so in that aspect, I would tell you that I would say we should ban kids off social media altogether, not just TikTok. But
yeah, that's what I was getting at, is that would the government see that as a net positive, in the sense that, sure, the people think that it's a great idea that kids don't get to use these social media platforms anymore, but this is also good for us, the government.tm, because, this way they don't have an access to information. Or would they possibly see that the other way is they don't have a way to indoctrinate the youth?
But I think it's probably a little bit of both, but it's definitely indoctrinating the youth. I mean, it's all about getting to the children. I mean, from the start, dude. I mean, from the start. And that's why we don't have, I mean, we have so many things set up to be adults only, and except for social media, except for our phones. Why haven't they created children only phones or adult only phones? Well, because they want to get to you early. It's indoctrination. You know, it's very interesting to me. I used to think that if they did that with religion, no one would be spiritual, right? No one would be religious. And here I am in my 50s, more religious than I've ever been through this spiritual growth I've had over the last couple years. So I was wrong in that. But they need to indoctrinate you into the Marxism. And, you know, all this stuff you're seeing on campus isn't at all authentic. It's all astroturfed. So yeah, they would lose their ability to basically brainwash the children, and that's the most powerful thing in the world. You pay your attention is the most important thing, and that's why like everything Hollywood's panicking, not because they're losing money, because all the companies at the top, it's only 5 or 6 companies, they just get bailed out by the Fed with the Fed funny money, so they don't really care about that. What they really do care about is their inability to brainwash you and propagandize you because nobody's watching their dog shit. So that's really what the real issue is in Hollywood and why they're freaking out. But they got a real problem because it's rotten to the core, in all the way from the base to the top. So the people on the top are seeing the data that no one's watching, but what can they do about it? Because from the top to the bottom is rotten with Marxism, because these people are just conformists and they've been conforming to what they've been told the industry wants, which is cultural Marxism bullshit. And nobody has any balls in Hollywood to say anything about it because they don't want to get it's so hard to get a gig in LA. All it takes is you have to get 10 green lights to get a gig. All it takes is one red light and you don't get the gig. So nobody wants to say anything. So yeah, I do believe that. I think there's a part of them that I don't think anyone in Washington, D.C. gives a shit about the children, and they actually are fine with indoctrinating the children. They're just upset that it's indoctrinating them and with the wrong information. That's why I think they want to get rid of TikTok.
And I wanted to ask you, in the sense of the cancellations, the red lights you're talking about, are cancellations still happening? A lot of the comedians I've talked to recently, they're at this point they're going back a couple years for their stories about cancellation. That's not true up here in Canada. It's much worse here still. There's recent protests against comedians, but down there in Texas or even in California, are there still cancellations happening? Are there still blatant choices where somebody, you know, a clip gets circulated and somebody's no longer allowed at the at one of the, I'm trying to just riff off names of comedy clubs.
No, I understand what you're saying. Our comics still getting canceled. Well, the truth of the matter is that you'd always hear from the left that cancel culture wasn't real. In a weird way, they're true. It was just an astroturf movement by the giant corporations through fascism with the U.S. government to control speech. So what they did was they get a couple blue-haired bots on Twitter and on Instagram to be like, this guy said meanie stuff. And before we could have a debate on it, corporations would come in and cancel the person, giving the illusion that these blue hairs were very, very powerful. In reality, they're just American ISIS, and they were just completely funded by these giant elites, by the elites. It's done. I'm reading this book about Hitler, and, you know, I don't want to get too crazy into that, but Hitler was completely funded by Wall Street and Bank of England, if you really study it. So this has always been it, the astroturfing of resistance and stuff like that. So the cancel culture was never real, but the real effects of it is the social contagion of everyone's afraid of getting canceled. And what we've done is weaponize stupid people. And I'm battling it right now. I had a pronoun joke go viral, and I've had 2 weeks in a row at clubs, one not so packed and one sold out, where people got upset with words I've said and walked out. We can no longer be provocative because stupid people can't digest sarcasm. So now we're like, something happened over time, and whatever you want to say about the industry back in the day, I'd say before the 2000s, right? before the 2000s, the industry had a certain standard. They wanted to put out some pretty amazing stuff. And even if it was, they kind of forced us to watch this kind of really like gritty, provocative art. And now those people are gone. And those people are watching what's happening in Hollywood as they gutted out all the outlaws and they brought in all the rich kids. And now it's just all about safe. And, you know, I've been watching the UFC. I'm a big MMA fan. I just got done with jiu-jitsu. I'm really horrible at it because I'm 51 trying to do jiu-jitsu. But, you know, I watched the UFC just constantly show Mark Zuckerberg on camera all the time. Why this guy's had his pulse on comedy. He's allowed like certain comedians who do keep it simple, stupid, to thrive and just throttling other people. So we're in a real war against the dumb. We're no longer allowed to be provocative. And this is not cancel culture from corporations. It's cancel culture now in comedy clubs where people here, we no longer laugh at ourselves. We no longer find people talking about us funny anymore. Now we take it as an affront because the dumb have been weaponized. So is cancel culture dead? Yeah, I think the days of corporations canceling people, they've realized that it costs them a lot of money, even so much money that they can't really clean it up instantly with Fed funny money from the U.S. Federal Reserve, which is not a federal company at all, but an independent business, which is owned by the Bank of England and the Rothschilds. And if you would look into what the Bank of England did and the Federal Reserve did with Hitler, you'd be very interested in that. So that to me is that aspect of cancel culture is dead, but the social contagion has spread, and it's going to take a little while before people realize it's safe to laugh at provocative stuff.
Yeah, and I definitely want to get into more of that stuff. I feel like, you know, you're a bit older than me. Even though exposing to the audience, Sam, how old you are, you still look very young.
Thank you.
We've been watching a lot of the same stuff for a long time, I think. But before we get to that sort of thing, I wrote down that, as you were talking, that I want to ask you about some of the old content. You mentioned like the early 2000s. Are you like me in the sense that you see a lot of stuff? Maybe you saw an episode of some sitcom or show from like 2005 and you're like, wow, I didn't get that was an ad back then. I didn't get that there was a message behind what they were saying or whatever it is. Do you think about how often, you know, back in the day were things indoctrinating us and we just didn't know, or was there actually just less of that before, you know, they put their finger on the button, let's say in the Trump era or something like that? Do you ever think about that?
I think when we go back and we watch some old clips, we now realize their game plan and the hand that they were playing. So I would say, yeah, I think we see a lot of it. You know, a great example is Ellen DeGeneres, you know, and how they tried to portray her as this kind of person who's just like bravely coming out of the closet and all this stuff. And then we later on realize she's actually like a Rockefeller or a Rothschild, and behind closed doors, she's absolutely a scumbag, right? There's nothing like, there's nothing about her that was like, oh my God, she's just brave. She's so brave. Reality, she was a rich kid. And you just go back, you start just watching this stuff and you see it a lot. You're like, oh, that was them just laying down the breadcrumbs and the slow drip. And they had to be much, 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 much more careful with how they did it. And now, and it's almost like every generation just moves closer and closer. I mean, I'm of an age where I grew up where like metal, and not just like, and I'm not talking like, 70s rock and roll, which was very, very much deep in Satanism and all that stuff. But, the rock and roll, like shout at the devil and all that stuff we took as raging against them, the church, which we were sold on, that was like this kind of oppressive, hating gays, pedophile network. In reality, we don't realize that was the same people pushing the satanic, Satanism are the same people telling us about the church. So, in that aspect, there's a lot of that stuff as we kind of look back on all of that stuff, how they had to slow roll it out for sure. Commercials like that, sitcoms like that. That just like, yeah, all the time, dude. It's crazy what we bought in, how naive we were way back in the day.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the podcast with Sam Tripoli. I'm here with Max the Cat. He's a little chunky. Go to patreon.com/UOPod for all the added content. For just a few Canadian dollars a month, you can help us become Joe Rogan. You can even help us become, or help yourself become, the Raptor superfan. Nobody knows how he manages to afford those tickets, or you can become an unauthorized person and suggest topics and videos, which we have done before. You will get the podcast with Anomaly. You'll get the advance notice on all the projects coming up. You will even get the extended versions and the exclusive versions of the Streeters. John Doyle and myself in Texas, Max, we've got it for you. So patreon.com/UOPod. Hope you guys go there if you like the podcast. Now back to the full episode, unseen before, of Sam Tripoli. What's the first thing that you remember of being like, things are not how I thought they were? I remember being 18 and watching Zeitgeist. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
And be like, that's very interesting. Now, a lot of their predictions did not come true. I remember the Amaro was the thing they were going to say was going to happen back then.
Well, hold on, bro. I mean, that is, there's some talk that George Bush 100% signed a treaty that basically got George Bush Jr. signed a treaty that basically got rid of the borders, and that they were slowly moving their way. So if we see that, I mean, watch what they're doing with the American dollar, destroying it. Look what they're doing with Canada. They're destroying the economy, and they're just going to make everybody so broke that everyone just is desperate, and they just take this crypto, which they could easily turn into the Amaro. So anything is possible, dude. I mean, like, if you're asking me, outside of, the first time I realized there were conspiracies was Santa Claus. Okay.
Okay.
Santa Claus is the first conspiracy. All right. And then the second time I realized that things weren't as they were telling us was when the Iron Sheik got busted with Hacksaw Jim Duggan in their car together, shit-faced, when they were supposed to be a battle between America and Iran. So I realized that was a lie. Now, and pro wrestling was my life back then. Those are like big moments for me. And then I remember going to college, and this was about 1991. And I find out, I read this book by Noam Chomsky, and we could get into what Noam Chomsky represents, which is Operation Long Leash, okay, where basically the CIA funded him to show people that capitalism was better than communism. That whole 60s and 70s, alt scene from news to art was all completely, astroturf. The CIA was basically funding all of them. But Noam Chomsky puts out this thing called manufacturing consent, and I just saw it starting to happen in real time in the news. So that was a big moment for me. And I was raised by my parent, particularly my father, very paranoid. He always tell me, believe nothing what you hear and half what you see. And now you really got, with AI and deep fakes, you got to really wonder if you're like, anything's real at this point. I mean, man, they got this great OAC thing with that Breitbart chick who's, they all in lingerie, and it's just like unbelievable how hot those chicks are. So nothing's real. And to be honest with you, like, AI is for good too. And it's interesting. So that's when I started getting into it. And then later on, I just started to, there was a YouTube channel way early. So I have this kind of big show. It's big-ish. It's called Tinfoil Hat. It was one of the first of the conspiracy comedy genres, and like way early into the like, this was like 7.5 years ago, which doesn't sound like that long, but in internet time is a billion years, right? So, right? And just think about how different everything on the internet was 7 years ago, and then I get into like when I started the Naughty Show with Red Band. We were doing shows in his side room. Like, that's how early we were into the game. And like what Death Squad represents is so amazing. But You know, I remember when around 2015, this kind of inspires the tinfoil hat is like is basically Hillary Clinton stealing the Democratic nomination
Well, this is
from
wild.
Bernie
This is my
Sanders,
story too. Go ahead.
right? So, you know, and then I mean, I really honestly identified as a liberal. I still identify as an old school liberal, which right now would probably be libertarian, to be honest with you. Even though I'm kind of not into any of these fucking parties. I love what Dave Smith's doing. I believe in what he's going. He's going deep too. Like he's going deep. He just Dave Smith's still very young, you know. He's still early on in his journey. He'll get to the point where he realizes this is God versus fallen angels. That's where we're getting with this. But you know, I'm watching Hillary Clinton telling everybody she's leading by 1 billion fucking points while he's playing stadiums and she's doing like Sam Tripoli numbers in a fucking cafeteria. I'm like, you know, at the time I couldn't draw a fucking shit. I maybe put 40 people, and like me and Hillary Clinton had the exact same poll at an event. And like, I'm like, and this is the whole part of Marxism, is to get you not to believe your eyes, your ears, or the wisdom of your experiences. And I didn't understand that yet. I didn't understand cultural Marxism at the time, but that's what was happening. They were telling us, don't believe your eyes. Don't believe what you're hearing. Don't believe the wisdom of your experiences that says a woman who can't even fill a cafeteria is beating a guy who is doing stadiums. So I started watching that, and then I was watching people like Jimmy Dore, who's like early on into his journey. You know, Lee Camp, who's like definitely more leftist than I am, but he was talking about like exit polls. And I was just like, and he's totally right. He's like, dude, the Federal Election Committee says if exit polls are off by like 3%, there's election fraud. And these things are off by 14 to 15%. And I'm like, wow, dude, something's definitely going on. And right about then, I discovered this kind of channel that's kind of doesn't produce anymore. I tried to interview him one time. It was just too weird of an experience, so we had to end it. His connection was bad, but it was Storm Clouds Gathering. And he did this real deep dive on what was going on in Syria. He did another real deep dive into Benghazi and how Benghazi and Syria are all connected. And I just saw it happening in real time. And I was like, damn, dude, damn. And then you're like, dude, I fell for chocolate Jesus, dude. I thought Obama was change. And then you realize that they knew America hated old crusty white guys, so they ran an old crusty white guy against power bottom Jesus, right? Chocolate Jesus. And then, dude, it's like I've said this before, like things aren't getting worse, they're getting more obvious, and all this shit's coming out, and like we just like how naive we used to be, and whatever the internet is, brother, it got away from them. It got away from them, and now. I mean, this is why they're desperately trying to censor the internet. And that's where I am right now, dude. I mean, like Hillary Clinton really opening Pizzagate. Dude, you just study everyone's Pizzagate's not real. You're like Jeffrey Epstein. At the least, it's Jeffrey Epstein. At the minimum, it's Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. But I mean, don't even mind that piece of shit talked about canned tomatoes in his basement. And I was like, we don't have a basement. Yeah.
There was no basement, Sam. All right.
Okay. And then the guy who shot up the pizza place, his father worked for Habitat for Haitian Orphans, which was funded by the Clintons. A week before his shooting, he gets in a giant accident, maims some people. They're like, dude, you can go to jail for a long time, go to jail for a short time. Which one are you going to do? Walk in there, and we want you to just shoot up the computer. And that's how he shot up. So people can say whatever they want. In 2019, Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation had 5 different people get charged and put on trial for child sex trafficking. You can say whatever you want. And now we know that this shit is rampant everywhere, sexual blackmail, all that shit. And that's it, dude. And that's where we are. And like I said, Tinfoil Hat still going, still top 100 comedy podcasts in comedy in Apple Podcasts. And this is after 7.5 years. If I was wrong all the time, no one would listen to the show. I know podcasts that were full of shit that are no longer around. Just talking dumb shit, believing in Mueller and shit like that.
For me, I think back to, Godsend Chris Cuomo saying, it's illegal for you to look at the stuff. Get it from us at CNN. And I was really skeptical that Trump was even actually going to run, and then that it was still all going to go through. I was just like laughing along with his jokes in the primaries, right? And then I was like, let me just see what these Clinton emails are all about. And then one after another, it was like, so they really think this. This isn't just like a Bond movie thing where it's like, we must keep the population dumb and unaware. Like, these are things they're saying in the Podesta emails. And then, hey, who wants to be on this board of directors? Who wants to be the ambassador to this place? And just saying, like, does anybody want to take these jobs? $1 million, I think it was, for the president of Morocco to meet with Bill Clinton. All these things, one after another, that you would think that were only in movies. These things were all true, all written about by, the highest officials in the country. Yeah. And then still, after reading all that stuff, I was like, it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to care about this stuff. Nobody's going to talk about this stuff. Because at that point, I've been watching politics for a couple of years, and the debates, they were all still saying the same thing. And then when Trump came out and said, WikiLeaks, they did the WikiLeaks. And I was like, oh my God, that he actually said it, right? So that's where that comes from. But you mentioned like the old podcasting days, and I remember before I was in the military, so it was like 2008, 2009, just watching Rogan and having another browser open to type things up and look them up, which is the thing you did at the time, and just getting into like these UFO videos, religion videos, and that's where I think it really all started for me. And you talked about like the old internet, and that stuff was just, YouTube was just anything back then.
Dude, it was so great. We really didn't realize how good we had it in 2014. Like 2014 to me was peak internet. It was the best. We were blessed. We could find anything and everything we wanted. And now it's just become, I think it's called a Potemkin village. It's a dead internet. Most links don't lead anywhere. Google is a giant fraud. Go to the last. We found 200,000 pages of information. Good luck getting past 12 fucking pages, dude. It's like people are waking up to this. And listen, dude. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. Okay. I can't express to you enough how I'm the cuckoo guy in LA.
But what do you mean?
I've just been right the whole time. I've just been right. But the problem is nobody goes back and keeps score. They just keep moving, and they're always 6 to a year behind me. And it just sucks because we're going through some crazy times right now. And I'm just watching all these comedians do absolutely nothing about it. And they just keep saying the stupid same shit. And they're just acting like the Titanic isn't sinking. And they just don't care. They're just trying to stack cash. And I'm like, your cash is going to be worth nothing soon if you don't start saying something and pushing back. But I don't know, man. I'm also in a place where I realize you can't save anybody. You just got to save yourself. And that's where we're at, dude.
But when you talk about you being seen as the crazy one, do you think that's an LA thing? Because there's no guy that I know that I've been like good friends with where we haven't had like an in-depth discussion about all the things we're talking about right now. From 16, 17 years old. I don't think, maybe it had something to do with the extracurricular activities or anything like that, but in the smoking category. But I don't know, why is it like sometimes when I watch like see a clip from a podcast from LA, the guys don't realize that they're like this LA point of view. They'll say something sexist, or they'll say something like, how can you say that about trans or something like that. I don't think that if you were living in a different place, you'd be seen as the crazy guy. There would be just every time one of my friends comes over, we end up yelling at each other for 3 hours about the government, conspiracies, what have you.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're totally right. And the problem is that most of these people aren't really doing comedy for their listeners. It's really just virtue signaling to people around them. That's really all they want. They just want to virtue signal to people around them, let everybody know they're part of the group, and it doesn't matter. And it's just like, it's a big reason why LA, New York, San Francisco are never going to change, ever, because you just have these rich kids who are just insulated from the consequences of their voting. And they're just all, you used to be you entertain the people. Now you try to entertain the suits. And even though that altar's dying, they don't give a shit. Like if you get on Netflix, that changes your life. So you're going to try to suck off those guys as much as you can. And we're all just going to be like, yeah, Hannah Gatsby's doing great stuff. Oh my God, she's so controversial. And you're just like, what are we talking about?
The cast of the new Seinfeld movie, if you want to talk about something like that, it's like, let's go find, I think besides Jim Gaffigan probably, but let's, like, Amy Schumer. I mean, I've heard Jim Gaffigan say things that I really don't agree with, but Amy Schumer and Hugh Grant, like, these are, like, this is who we're getting for, this is when we can get any comedians in the world to be on a comedy movie. This is who we're getting. I don't think that was a good sign at all. We've seen, like, how much do you think that Katt Williams interview resonated with people? Because I don't think you can go on a Chris Tucker page or a Kevin Hart page anymore without everybody saying, like, Illuminati or Epstein list sort of thing.
Well, it made me feel better because I didn't make it in Hollywood. So I'm like, oh, at least I'm not a satanic pedophile who takes it in the butt. So I feel way better about myself. Thank you. That's a great thing. I mean, it's interesting, dude. I think he nailed it. I think he and people are just realizing more and more and more and more that they're paying attention to people that have, like, that just are into darkness, dude. And it's just kind of crazy to me. And you're just watching people go nuts. I don't know why this is dinging all the time, buddy. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You're just watching people start to lose their mind. And I don't know. I just don't. I like to, like. There's some people who have a fame that I think we'd all like a Rogan, who's kind of like insulated and does whatever he wants. That seems like fun fame. But there seems like a lot of fame is just not fun anymore. It's just not a good time. It's just not fun. It's not good time. It seems like it's just war to me. And we just, with all the bots and all that shit, I'm happy where I am. Obviously, we'd all like to make a little more money, but if we made more money, then we want to make a little more money. It's just at the end of the day, are you happy what you did? I am. And like Katt Williams is right about all that shit. And I've been saying it forever. I said Ice Cube is the Larry the Cable Guy of fucking hip hop, but nobody wanted to listen to me. And I got people going, dude, you're nuts. And then 2 weeks later, he's like, yeah, the CIA controlled gangster rap.
Once that the NWA movie came out and the Tupac movie that the estate didn't like, it was pretty much to me like, it's hard for me to find nicer words other than fraud in that case. You go with NWA, and Ice Cube's a good enough guy, and he's got a good voice. But the closest they got to criminality when they started was Easy being a weed dealer, I think. And then Fuck the Police was written because a friend of theirs got arrested for shooting paintballs at cars that were driving by.
Right,
and that's what had to be like,
AstroTurf. It's so
we can't have that.
And like, so I'm dealing with this thing with the M word, right? I'm trying to normalize white people calling each other nigga. That's my goal in life. Is we need to. That's the best way to kill the word is for white guys to call each other it, and then nobody will want to do it anymore because it's just. But the way, I mean, like we go back to entertainment from the 60s, 70s. Before, like nobody's calling each other the M word, and then this gangster rap comes through, and now everybody's calling, and then you defend it at all costs, and it's just like people don't realize like we're living in a mystic realm. Words are magic. Your words have power. Words are spells. You keep calling yourself that, it's lowbrow, fucking low vibrational. So nobody, and then they just defend it. So it goes back to like I'm in Dallas. I got like fucking leprechauns coming at me, like which are black pygmies, because nobody realizes that in Ireland the leprechauns were black pygmies. So I'm like, I'll fight you at my Dallas show. I got ethnic midgets wanting to fight me over my pronouns, and it's just like, what are we doing as a society? Like, what's going on in your life? Did you get mad at jokes? I'm Armenian. Imagine if I got mad at genocide jokes, which is every show in LA. Okay, it's just absolutely ridiculous.
The whole, I like to often say on my shows that the world is pretty much governed by the fact that you're not supposed to be mean. You're not allowed to say anything mean, and obviously it doesn't really get enforced in Canada.
Yeah,
it does
dude,
a lot in England.
That is a giant psyop as well, because there's only one politically correct rule that is followed by everybody, and that's Jews don't call each other the K word. That's it. That's the only rule that the group that has the rule follows the rule, right? That's it. Like if I see another comic going, I'm tired of fucking comedians doing rape jokes, and then you go through their timeline and they're never calling out female comics who do 80% of the rape jokes. Okay, like if female comics stop doing rape jokes, all the rape jokes will be gone. They'd just be gone. But nope, some cute little fucking open micer trying to fucking get picked up on Kill Tony. I got a rape joke. And everyone's like, oh my God, you're so adorable. You cute little fucking munchie, right? So, like, that's it. The M word, it's not a real rule. There's no real rule to any of these. Jews are the only ones who follow their own rule. And I respect them for that. Okay? Political correctness is bullshit. I say this all the time on stage. There are white women who go to comedy clubs, get offended by fucking jokes, complain to the manager that the jokes hurt people's feelings. Then they get in their car, drive home, and go listen to a murder podcast. Okay? It's like, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Okay?
You know David Lucas?
Yeah.
Yeah, his whole thing probably a month ago. I don't know how long anymore. It goes so fast. I love David Lucas, and the idea. I did not think that there was going to be international news, I guess, about David Lucas making George Floyd jokes when we're like how many years removed. He's black, and the death threats that he was getting for making George Floyd jokes was amazing. Well, I wonder, like, have you not seen David Lucas perform before?
Well, that's the problem. When you clip something up and you put it out, it takes it out of the room of people to see you, and it gives it to everybody. And then people would normally not even come to your shows are commenting on it. Okay. And it's like, I'm fine with people getting upset, but the notion of wanting to go fight somebody because they did a joke. Now, I've shown up to people's houses to curb stomp them because they said shit about my kids. And I'm going to fuck that dude up. But outside of that, I let everybody fucking go. I don't give a shit. You know, it's like, it's just joke. I mean, I get called tranny chaser, gay, you name it. I don't give a shit. Light it up. Dude, I got this chick who's like, this guy's a tranny chaser. I'm like, tell Netflix so I can get a special. I'll do a joke called my girlfriend's dick is bigger than mine. I'll do the Home Alone fucking face, okay? Just give me something going, dude. I'll fight everybody.
Macaulay Culkin. Yeah, I'm Home Alone. Right, okay.
With this giant black dick just hanging by my...
And you're invited on The Secret Show Thursday night.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm here.
All right. One question I want to ask you for the internet before we go. I want to ask you, I don't think it's out there, is why, your point of view from the infamous Ari Shaffir Salvia trip. Have you been asked that before?
Well, the only problem I have with it, and I love Ari, is that no one ever says he did it on my show. That's literally my biggest problem with it.
Go off, Sam. Go off.
Nobody says, oh, it was Sam Tripoli's naughty show. Yeah. You had Red Band just trying to get him to... I had somebody the other day try to tell me that Red Band was the kind one and I was the asshole, when Red Band just kept telling him to take bigger hits. If you watch it, Red Band's like, oh, you didn't get enough, hit it again. And then Ari hits it again, and then he's gone. And I have to hold him down and comfort him and pet him like a fat cat to keep him fucking going. Like, nobody does that. And even like I was talking to this the other day, I'm fucking Broken Sin that drops tomorrow night, my comedy podcast. I had Brody Stevens on. We did a dating show for Brody Stevens. We had a playmate, 2 hardcore kink porn stars, and then a trans porn star. And Brody picked the trans porn star. And that was the basis of his show on fucking Comedy Central. He didn't even ask us to be on his show. Like, what?
Oh, the one where you tell your story, right? What was it called? This Is Not Happening? Is that what you're referring to?
No, Brody Stevens.
Oh, Brody's,
had a TV
okay,
show on Comedy Central about him just dating a trans porn star.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and like nobody, I don't know, dude. I love Ari. I think he's great. You know, it's just like say you did on the Ari show. That's it. I don't care, dude. I love Ari. I love everything he's doing. He's like a great comic. Like he's a wonderful comedian. He's a old school writer. He's fearless, and just say you did on the Naughty Show. That's all. That's all. Just give me some fucking. I make history, and nobody gives me credit for it. Now I know how Tataria feels.
Shout out to Tataria.
Yeah.
Lands. Did everybody smoke it that night?
I didn't. I've never done it. I've never done it at all. But
there's time.
Right now, I'm not totally out on psychedelics, but I'm enjoying sobriety. My whole thing, and this is a Bob Saget joke, it's not a drug unless you're willing to suck dick for it. So that's my rule. So, you know, shrooms, I don't know, maybe someone sucks some dick for some acid. I don't know, but that's my, like, as long as you're not sucking dick for it, it's not a drug.
Dial it back or run it back, as the kids say. Get everybody back in the room. Yeah,
get everybody back in the room.
All right, is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's about it. Just know everything going on in campus and on these campuses isn't natural. It's all paid for. You know, Zionists are paying for the pro-Israel people, and George Soros is paying for and it's all meant to bring in martial law. They want you to beg them to come save you. You know, we can't stop crime, but yet somehow they got stormtroopers on campus. Everything is astroturf. Just chill. You can't stop anything. You save yourself. You can't. Here's the last thing. People think they can march and do all this shit. They can't. You can't. You're not going to change the game by marching. Here's how you change the game. You've got to beat the game. And by beating the game, you show others how to beat the game, and the game adapts to you. Look inside yourself. Take jujitsu, Krav Maga, martial arts, get guns, buy gold, work on the land, help others. That's how you do it. Stop marching in the streets, think you're going to do any of that shit. Pull yourself out of the system. Learn what they're doing, pay attention to it, and then pull your attention out by not getting anxiety from it. Everything is a giant magic trick. It's all intelligence magic tricks. Stop falling for it. Get out of it.
You play any video games, Sam?
No. I'm thinking about getting Xbox or a PlayStation. I thought I was getting Xbox, but everyone's telling me to get a PlayStation.
I'm a PlayStation guy, but I can see the benefit of Xbox.
I'm thinking about I'm trying to figure anything right now, dude. As I speak to you, I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I'm fasting, and I quit watching porn. So I have way too much time on my hands.
There's a lot of computer games that can fill that time.
I want to do it, dude. I need to do something because I just can only work out so much. I can only read so much. And it's either that or stare at people's holes. And I'm tired of staring at holes.
Get a computer game where you like something from like the medieval era and you'll spend untold amount of hours.
Okay, send me links and I'll check it out.
I will do that.
Hey, Andrew, thanks for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
Of course.
Sorry it was so hard to get a hold of. I hope this was funny. I get serious. I need to be more wacky. I'm trying to be wackier.
I find myself trying to think of like wanting to be more funny when I get too serious for a long time too. Like I put out a clip yesterday. I was like, I could have tried to joke more about that. I think it comes across better and people won't think that like you're angry. I don't want people just to like, there was a big problem when I was young. People always thought I was angry because of the look on my face, but I think it's gotten better.
I'm trying, dude. I also like, fuck it. I don't give a shit either. But you know, I want to be, that's why I think Tim Dillon's so powerful is because he's so good at like being serious, but being funny at the same time. Like me, I just become like a pit bull with rabies. I'm frosting at the mouth and I just want to light people up. So I got to be more like Tim Dillon. That's what I always say.
I think there's room for that. My brother once told me that some people take the scenic route and it's very nice and they're going to get to where they're going. But some people have to take the rough and patchy road that other people don't want to take, but somebody has to do it. That's what my brother told me one day.
I got to do it, dude. My brother he doesn't want anything to do with conspiracies at all. It's like unbelievable to me, but we'll see, dude. I don't know. I had a great time. I'll do it anytime you need me, buddy.
For sure. Thanks a lot.
Turn it up, Jordan.